Hey, sports card fans, it's John Wade Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. Today, I'll be taking a look at the top 10 PSA baseball card sales on eBay for cards from the 1980s for November 2025. For the month of November, in terms of players, Ken Griffey Jr. cards lead the way. In terms of cards themselves, Topps Tiffany versions of the base top set continue to have strong sales. There is one card on the top 10 that's a bit of a head scratcher, and there are a few new record high sales to report. So let's go check out the cards that made this month's top 10 list. Coming in at number 10, we have this 1983 Topps Tony Gwynn in a PSA 10. This one sold on November 28th for $5,350. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for PSA 10 is $4,330. The record high sale was $8,070 back in September of this year through memory lane. Now, there have been 6,422 copies graded a PSA 9, 749 have been graded a PSA 10. Now, there were three other significant 1983 Topps Tony Gwynn sales in November, all PSA 10 copies. The first one sold on November 23rd for $5,199. Another copy sold on November 30th for $4,750. And finally, a third copy sold on November 30th for $4,278. At number 9, we have this 1981 Topps Rickey Henderson in a PSA 10. This one sold on November 18th for $5,400. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10 is $4,501. The record high sale was $5,656 back in July of this year through eBay. There have been 1,214 copies graded a PSA 9. Just 103 have been graded a PSA 10. At number 8, we have one of the hottest cards from the 80s showing up here at number 8, the 89 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. in a PSA 10. This one sold on November 27th for $6,000. It was a buy it now. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10 is $4,538. The record high sale was $6,600 all the way back in February of 2021 through a PWCC listing on eBay. There have been nearly 34,000 copies graded a PSA 9, and a strong 4,342 have been graded a PSA 10. Now, this wasn't the only 1989 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. sale in November. There were many, but here are 4 other significant sales of that card, all PSA 10 copies. First one sold on November 27th for $5,995. One copy sold on November 11th for $5,800. A third copy sold on November 26th for $5,600. And finally, a fourth copy sold on November 30th for $5,245. At number 7, we have this 1989 Flair Glossy Ken Griffey Jr. The Flair Glossy is sort of the equivalent to the Topps Tiffany sets. This one here is in a PSA 10 and sold on November 22nd for $6,211. It was an auction. There were 20 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10 is $5,003. The record high sale was $8,595 back in February of 2021 through eBay. There have been 713 copies graded a PSA 9. 121 have been graded a PSA 10. At number 6, this one is the bit of a head scratcher here. 1986 Topps Ryne Sandberg in a PSA 10. This one sold on November 6th for $6,225. It was an auction. There were 50 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10, not including this sale, it was $3,861. So this sale here at $6,225 would represent a new record high sale for a PSA 10 copy. The previous high was $3,861 back in October of 2024 through eBay. Now, there have only been 129 copies graded a PSA 9, and just 8 have been graded a PSA 10. At number 5, we have this 1982 Topps Traded Cal Ripken Jr. in a PSA 10, a card that typically finds its way on the top 10 list every month. This one sold on November 16th for $6,755. It was an auction. There were 65 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10 is $6,807. The record high sale was $20,101 back in February of 2021 through a PWCC listing on eBay. There have been 4,683 copies graded a PSA 9. About a tenth of that, 422, have been graded a PSA 10. At number 4, we have this 1989 Fleer Billy Ripken whited out vulgarity version in a PSA 10. This one sold on November 7th for $11,750. It was a buy it now. The current VCP average price for PSA 10 is this sale here at $11,750 and represents a new record high sale for this variation in a PSA 10. The previous high was $4,000 back in May of 2024 through eBay. Now, of this whited out vulgarity version in a PSA 9, there have been 57 copies graded. Just 16 have received a PSA 10 grade. At number 3, we have this 1984 Topps Tiffany Don Mattingly in a PSA 10. This card and this sale probably hit the top 10 in anticipation of Don Mattingly possibly getting elected to the Hall of Fame. This one sold on November 30th for $12,446. It was an auction. There were 52 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 10 is $10,628. And this sale here at $12,446 represents a new record high sale for a PSA 10 copy. The previous high was $8,000 back in March of 2024 through eBay. There have been 375 copies graded a PSA 9. 54 have been graded a PSA 10. At number 2, we have this 1986 Topps Traded Tiffany Barry Bonds in a PSA 10, another card that typically finds itself on the top 10 list. This one sold on November 26th for $13,000. It was a buy it now. The current VCP average price for PSA 10 is $10,900. The record high sale was $16,000 back in February of 2021 through eBay. There have been 1,506 copies graded a PSA 9. 454 have been graded a PSA 10. And the number one sale from the 1980s for November 2025 is this 1989 Bowman Tiffany Ken Griffey Jr. in a PSA 10. This one sold on November 28th for $13,000. It was a best offer. The current VCP average price for PSA 10 is $12,820. The record high sale was $23,800. You guessed it, back in February of 2021 through a PWCC listing on eBay. There have been 516 copies graded a PSA 9. 159 have been graded a PSA 10. There you go, the top 10 PSA baseball card sales on eBay for cards from the 1980s for November 2025. As always, would love to know in the comments what you think about the cards that made this month's top 10 list. And with that, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.